You've probably heard of the Vedas, right? But there's one that's, well, it's different. We're going to dive into a text that's often overlooked, the Atharva Veda. It's known as the fourth Veda, but honestly, it's in a league of its own. And it contains this forgotten code that, believe it or not, quietly shaped our world in ways you just wouldn't expect.
So, one was never meant to rule kings or command gods. That line, it tells you everything you need to know. See, the other Vedas, they were for the big stuff. Cosmic hymns, grand rituals for kings and gods. But the Atharva Veda, it had a totally different audience in mind. This wasn't for the heavens. This was for us, for the people, living their lives right here on the ground.
And that's exactly where our journey begins. This Veda wasn't about abstract philosophy. Nope, it was about the messy, real, urgent stuff of everyday life. We're talking love, sickness, fear, hope, all of it. You could almost think of it as the original spiritual survival guide for the ancient world.
Okay, so what is this thing really? Well, the Atharva Veda is basically this amazing collection of hymns, spells, and incantations. It's not some high-minded philosophical text. It's more like a practical toolkit, right? A way to navigate a world that was pretty dangerous and uncertain. When you boil it all down, it was really about one thing: survival.
Yeah, this was a Veda for the living. Inside, you'd find chants to heal someone who is sick, spells to keep your home safe, prayers for a long and healthy life, even rituals for a good harvest. I mean, this was spirituality at its most practical. It was a tool, plain and simple, for making life better and safer.
But here's the really cool part. This text wasn't just written and then, done. It evolved. It grew over centuries, almost like a living thing. And we can actually trace that evolution. We can peel back the layers and see how this simple survival code started asking much, much bigger questions.
It's like looking at 4 different layers of time. First, you have the age of magic, which was all about spells for pure survival. Pretty straightforward. But then, things shifted to the age of mind. Suddenly, people are asking these huge cosmic questions, like, hey, what actually holds the universe together? After that, it moved into an age of ritual, giving shape to life's big moments: birth, marriage, death. And finally, there's this phase of absorption, where its ideas kind of had to go undercover, merging with other texts just to make sure they didn't disappear. And all this change, this evolution, it led to something huge. A massive turning point, because from right inside this one text, a huge disagreement popped up, a great split in how people saw the world. And this split, wow, it would end up shaping the spiritual beliefs of pretty much the entire planet. So here it is, the heart of the whole thing. You've got this one source, this one well of ideas, and 2 totally different paths branch off from it. One path went all in on the idea of mini-gods, gods with names, with faces, with specific jobs. But the other path, it went in the complete opposite direction, toward this idea of a single formless power, something that was everywhere, but you couldn't see it.
Okay, so let's break that down. On one side, you had a group called the Angirasas. Their way of thinking led to worshiping deities you could literally see and name. Think temple idols, warrior gods like Indra, tangible forms. But then you had the Bhrigus. They were on the other side of the fence. For them, the divine wasn't in a statue. It was in something abstract, like cosmic order itself, or the endless sky, symbolized by the fire in their altars.
And this is where the story gets absolutely wild, because this wasn't just some philosophical debate. This fracture had massive, world-changing consequences. The Angirasas path, the one with many gods, that became a foundational element of Hinduism. But the Bhrigus path, with its single formless god, traveled west. It laid the groundwork for Zoroastrianism in Persia, and from there, planted the philosophical seeds for the great monotheistic religions we know today. Just wow.
Isn't that incredible? When you think about it, so many of the world's great belief systems, paths followed by literally billions of people, they can all be traced back to this one fundamental question, debated in a single ancient text. It really is one question, but so many different paths. And that's really the legacy of the Atharva Veda, isn't it? It leaves us with this huge, timeless question. Do you think there's only one truth, like a single mountain peak that everyone has to climb the same way? Or is truth more like a whole mountain range with tons of different paths that all lead to the top? When you look at the journey of this forgotten text, you realize it's telling a universal story. It doesn't matter where you are, what land you're from. We all have the same basic fears, the same hopes, and we all find ourselves asking the same fundamental questions about who we are and why we're here.
We might come up with different answers, for sure, but that search, that's something we all have in common.
So that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. The Atharva Veda pulls us back to a time before organized religion as we know it, before all the structures we have today. And it really makes you wonder, if you could strip everything away, all the rules, all the doctrines, all the gods, what was the original question? What was that first spark of curiosity that got this whole thing started?